Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and we're going to take a little bit of a tour on the Department of Justice website here and talk about whistleblowers and some of the benefits that there are to having whistleblowers. It does kind of pay to be a whistleblower in the government these days. So I wanted to point this out to you first before we get started. Due to the lapse in appropriations, Department of Justice websites will not be regularly updated and everything. They have it here. Now, just the other day, I got an email from my bank, and it said that they would help out these people that are in the situation where they're not getting their paycheck because the government shut down. I think a lot of banks are doing this because everybody understands what's going on, and they're giving them loans because they know they're going to get the money later on. They just don't have the money now. So when the Democrats are saying, oh, these poor people who are not getting their paycheck, I do think that there are places out there, that there are businesses that are going to work with them, because it's not like they're making this up. Everyone understands that this is the situation. So I do think that they're going to work with them. I don't think it's going to be much longer that the shutdown will last, because I think the pressure is really on Chuck and Nancy to change their minds and to get with the program, because they've got a lot of Democrats now who are even coming forward. And then you get Jim Acosta, who shows us, yes, walls do work. That was great. That was one of the best things. And, by the way, you saw Trump tweet out Dear Diary on that. Go down in the comments. There's a Dear Diary in there. I'm wondering if that's what he was referring to, because that comment was about the same time as he tweeted. So I'm kind of wondering if that's the comment he was referring to. Anyway, that's off the subject. Let's go back to what we're doing here. Anyway, I did want to point that out to you, and I showed you what my bank said. Let's go down on this because, look, the Justice Department recovers over $2.8 billion from False Claims Act cases in fiscal year 2018. Now remember, Trump's asking for what, $5.7 billion for the wall. So this is like half of it right there that they recovered last year because of whistleblowers. There's a law called the False Claims Act, and there are statistics. You can go to the statistics. They're over here. Kind of overwhelming a little bit, but they have them from 1986 when this False Claims Act began. I think that's when it began. So anyway, here's all the stuff. They have it all the way down, and you can see the different numbers here. I know they're huge numbers, aren't they? These are the non-Qui Tam ones, which means the government found the fraud on their own. The Qui Tam are the ones that are whistleblowers. And if you look, the number of whistleblowers increased a lot over the years. There were some ups and downs, but the Obama years, it really started moving up. You've got 433, 577, 634, and then it gets up in the 700s, and so it really started getting bigger as it went here. And the numbers, look at the numbers that they're getting. Now, that's the non-Qui Tam, which is still a recovery, but it's non-Qui Tam. And then over here is the Qui Tam. They have different things about it. I'm not real up on the legal what's the difference here, but the total is the total of whistleblowers, how much they recovered. And if you look at these numbers, we're talking billions here. 2.1 billion, 3.1 billion. This is a lot of money that they recovered. So it's amazing what they're talking about. 2.8 billion just in 1 year. 2.8 billion. And when you look at these other numbers, they sure do add up a lot. It's amazing. And you can see overall $59 billion that have been recovered from fraud. This is people defrauding our government. Amazing. And then that's the overview. And then down here, I'm sorry, I went really fast. That probably made you a little dizzy. Sorry about that. But then it breaks it down into the different departments. So you can go through and you can look at the individual departments if you want to. As always, I'll put the links down below in the description. Remember, if you can't find the description, there's usually a little arrow that you click on, and then it pops that up and opens it up so you can see what's in the description. So I always put my links down below so you can go check it out for yourself. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. And on this, Again, 2.8 billion. Some of these, if you read through these, it is amazing what some of these were. I mean, 2.5 billion came just from the healthcare industry. Some of this is just incredible that were trying to defraud the government this way. Now, these whistleblowers they're called the relator, and they receive up to 30% of the recovery. There were 645 Qui Tam suits in fiscal year 2018, and this past year the department recovered over $2.1 billion in these and earlier filed suits. Now remember, these are the ones that are Qui Tam, these are the whistleblower ones. So, healthcare fraud. I mean, some of these you're sitting there, they sought to circumvent important safeguards intended to preserve the integrity of the nation's drug supply. I mean, and profit from the repackaging of certain drugs supplied to cancer-stricken patients. These people are just evil. I can't imagine doing some of this stuff. You know, here, it sold a materially unreliable testing device that was intended to aid clinicians in the diagnosis of drug overdoses, acute coronary syndrome, and other serious conditions. Hello? Playing with people's health here. And that goes on. This year, pharmaceutical company United Therapeutics Corporation, a seller of pulmonary arterial hypertension drugs, paid $210 million to resolve allegations that it used a foundation as an illegal conduit to pay the copay obligations of thousands of Medicare patients using its drugs. I mean, just look at the numbers. You go through, you look at the numbers. Words fail me when I look through this because I'm just appalled at how much has gone on, and this is just in 1 year. This was only in 2018. Just can't even believe it myself. And they have all these links here, so you can check the links and find out exactly who was involved in the details of it. But yeah, you know, $84.5 billion in the Detroit, Michigan area to resolve allegations of improper relationships with 8 referring physicians intended to induce patient referrals. Yeah. And it goes on. I mean, it's not just the healthcare, but this one really gets me because this is a company that made bulletproof vests that the United States purchased for federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies. The United States further alleged that between at least 2001 and 2005, Toyobo, the sole manufacturer of Xylon fiber, knew that Xylon degraded quickly in normal heat and humidity, and that this degradation rendered the bulletproof vests containing Xylon unfit for use. The United States alleged that Toyobo nonetheless actively marketed Xylon fiber for bulletproof vests, published misleading data that understated the degradation problem, and when one body armor manufacturer recalled some of its Xylon-containing vests in late 2003, started a public relations campaign designed to influence other body armor manufacturers to keep selling Xylon-containing vests. Toyobo's actions allegedly delayed by several years the government's efforts to determine the true extent of Xylon degradation. Finally, in August 2005, the National Institute of Justice completed a study of Xylon-containing vests and found that more than 50% of used vests could not stop bullets that they had been certified to stop. I realized that was finally in August 2005. But this whole thing is talking about the importance of whistleblowers and how you had people that came out and they talked about these things and revealed what was going on. There's corruption. I mean, you just read through all of them. Overbilled the Navy by submitting invoices that overstated the quantity of goods and services provided. You know, it's just all kinds of stuff. How does this come out? Well, sometimes the government finds it on their own, but a lot of times, that's what we're talking about, the Qui Tam action, that comes out because there was a whistleblower. Keep in mind what it really means to be a whistleblower. These people are putting their livelihoods on the line because they know that they probably will not have a job after they get done. And even if they do succeed, they're going to be labeled as a whistleblower, a snitch kind of thing. So they're going to have a hard time finding a job, I'll bet. So I think some of them really put their lives and their well-being on the line to do what's right. I really admire these whistleblowers for everything that they're doing for us, holding individuals accountable. That's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to hold people accountable for what's going on. Now, if you go clear down here at the bottom, it's like several over and over. Of the $2.8 billion in settlements and judgments reported by the government in fiscal year 2018, over $2.1 billion arose from lawsuits filed under the Qui Tam provisions of the False Claims Act, and that means whistleblowers, remember? During the same period, the government paid out $301 million to the individuals who exposed fraud and false claims by filing these actions. The number of lawsuits filed under the Qui Tam provisions of the Act has grown significantly since 1986, with 645 Qui Tam suits filed this past year, an average of more than 12 new cases every week. Whistleblowers have played a vital role in unmasking fraudulent schemes that might otherwise evade detection, said Assistant Attorney General Jody Hunt. The taxpayers owe a debt of gratitude to those who often put much on the line to expose such schemes. And then it mentions Chuck Grassley. Now I'm going to play a little clip for you from a special whistleblower day that they had back in July of 2018. And I want you to see how they introduce him. I'm not going to play the full clip, but I will link to the clip down below so you can watch the whole thing. It actually is a big, long thing on C-SPAN that you can watch. And it includes him. It also includes Michael Horowitz. Very interesting information that they're giving out. Basically, it was honor whistleblowers. But it's really kind of funny when the guy introduces Grassley. He calls him the patron saint of whistleblowers. So that's who the patron saint of whistleblowers is. Watch the clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll come back, please, to be seated for the Honorable Charles Grassley, the patron saint of whistleblowers. Save my case, save my bacon. And Dean Zerby is now here to introduce this wonderful, wonderful man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you all. It is probably one of the greatest honors I've got to introduce the man that I worked for and went back to work for 4 times, maybe a 5th, who knows. But he is, as you well said, Jane, the patron saint of whistleblowers. And I would just say it comes in his bones in terms of supporting whistleblowers. He has been their great champion and supporter all of his time in the Congress, and even before, when he was in the Iowa State House, he was very much active for whistleblowers then. So it is just, if you will, a part of who Charles Grassley is his great support for whistleblowers. Just 2 quick thoughts for you, and I want to get right to the senator, is that I'll never forget when Ernie Fitzgerald was on the phone for him, the great whistleblower Ernie Fitzgerald, and he, unfortunately, the senator was rushing off to a vote, and Ernie said to pass on to the senator just one thing. He said, tell the senator John 8:32, and Senator Grassley, having gone to Sunday school more than I had, immediately responded back, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And that is certainly the senator's guiding light.
So yeah, Chuck Grassley, again, one of our heroes in Congress. This man has done so much for us over the years, and we really need to appreciate him for all that he's done for us over the years. So anyway, you've got that. You're going to have this down below too, so you can look through it. The numbers are just huge. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around $1 million. I really don't make very much. So for me, I'm kind of like one of those really low peons. So big numbers, I just sit there going, wow, what would anybody do with that amount of money? I don't know, but I know it takes a lot of money to run our government. But when you're finding people that are bilking us out of $2.8 billion, that's major, man. That's major. So I'm going to include this down below too. In case you don't understand what a Qui Tam case is, I'll put that there. If you recall, when the 2 whistleblowers, Doyle and Moynihan, were speaking about the Clinton Foundation, there was a lot of question about whether they were bringing a Qui Tam case. So this will give you a little context. This is a lawyer who defines what it is and talks about it a little bit so you can understand it. I'm going to link to this down below too, because this is included in the other one, the full thing, but this is just the clip of Horowitz, and I thought it was very interesting what he had to say. And you do understand that Horowitz is an integral part to what's going on right now, and that his job has not ended. He is still continuing to do investigations on the Department of Justice. That's his job. He is in charge of the Department of Justice. Not only that, but he's also the chair of CIGIE, the CG is what they call it, the CG. And the CG is the Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency. In other words, this guy is like all about whistleblowers. That's who he works with. That's who he counts on. He is a big fan and a big promoter of whistleblowers. I wanted to point that out to you, and it does say Mr. Horowitz oversees a nationwide workforce of more than 450 special agents, auditors, inspectors, attorneys, and support staff whose mission is to detect and deter waste, fraud, abuse, and misconduct in DOJ programs and personnel, and to promote economy and efficiency in department operations. Now remember, that's his job, is to oversee this group of special agents, auditors, inspectors, etc. 450. Now when he speaks in this, he says, I think 475, I believe is the number he gives. So anyway, you can read through that. That's his bio about it. And then I'll give you a link to the entire Whistleblower Day video here. And like I said, it starts out with Chuck Grassley. He speaks for 2457 there. And then they go on, and I think Horowitz is next after this. And it's the same video as in this one, I believe. And then there's this one that I'll put down below too. This is another C-SPAN, and this is on Project on Government Oversight Summit, Michael Horowitz, and that was November 16th of this last year. So none of this is new, but the idea that we have someone who is kind of in charge of whistleblowers, in charge of listening to them, using them to help him do the investigations, that's who Horowitz is. And he worked along with Grassley. Grassley was a big promoter of whistleblowers, and they were working together to try to get a lot of the truth out. Now granted, this particular article is talking more about healthcare fraud and the different kinds of fraud, because what it's doing is recapping the entire year. Some of these happened earlier in the year, some of them happened at the end, but the end of the year for them is September 30th. So that's why they're putting this out now, because they're probably just getting all the information and the statistics and everything put in at this point. This is specific for different kinds of fraud, but remember, Horowitz is still investigating. He has not stopped. He continues. That's part of what an IG does. They go through and they look at how the things are done. But the problem with the IG is all he can do is make recommendations. He has access to a lot of information, but he can't always give that out to people in general. You saw how long it took them to get out the report that ended up coming out in June. It took forever for that to come out because there are processes they have to go through. And even when we got it, there's some stuff in the appendices at the end that's classified that we've never seen, but Congress has. Congress has seen everything in his document because that's what he does. His Inspector General report goes to Congress. They see it all, even stuff that's classified. Now, it doesn't get released to the public because of the classified stuff, and that's why we had to wait so long to get it to come out, because we were waiting for them to do all their little redactions. Oh, and speaking of redactions, yes, I think that blackout thing, I couldn't get it to work, but I think from what I read with the Anons, it only worked with that Manafort document because it was processed incorrectly or something. I'm not sure, but I've not been able to get it to work. I haven't seen any more talk about it on the boards, so I kind of think that it probably didn't work for all the other documents. Otherwise, we'd be seeing like everything out there. Wouldn't that be great? So if it's working, I haven't seen any about it, but I have not been on the boards very much lately because of the orientation training I was doing, and kind of get back to normal. So let's finish this. We have a lot of these things that are out there. This is on the Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency site, and you can see their governing documents about them, some FAQs, and just all different kinds of stuff that you can go through and you can look at if you're interested. And of course, the FOIA reading room, they've got one of those too. Quarterly reports. That's all I've got for you tonight. I'm going to leave the links to all of these different things so you can watch them on your own. If you watch nothing else, make sure you see this one. Michael Horowitz speaks at National Whistleblower Day 2018. I really recommend, too, that you see the one with Grassley. And like I said, he's the first speaker here, so you can watch the beginning of the C-SPAN. There's a little bit downtime at the beginning, but then he gets up to speak first. Interesting to me, at least, and I thought I'd share it with you all. So that's what I've got for you today. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.